Hey everybody, I'm here with a quick video to go over some of that vocab with you. So we are in our genetics and heredity unit, and some of the vocab in here can be a little bit tricky. So it's important for you to take some time to actually review the vocab. I highly suggest that you make flashcards. So let's start with the two most basic terms, genetics and heredity. Genetics is just a fancy term for the study of heredity. Heredity is the actual study of how the traits are passed and what's going on with the different inheritance factors, and really why do organisms look, act, behave the way that they do. When we're looking at different inheritance factors, all of these traits that we talk about, having brown eyes or blue eyes, having curly hair or straight hair, all of these things are found in our DNA. Our DNA can be described in a couple of different ways. The first way is with chromosomes, and that's just DNA very tightly coiled up. And sometimes it looks like these two little purple blobs that are down here in the corner. A gene is just a segment of the DNA where you can find the coding for the traits that you are looking at. So if you're looking at eye color, there's going to be one gene that you get from the biological father, one gene that you get from the biological mother. Together, those two things are going to make something called a genotype, which we'll talk about later. The allele is the alternate form of the gene. So you could have the allele for brown eyes, you could have the allele for blue eyes, you can have the allele for straight hair, you can have the allele for curly hair. These alleles can either be dominant or recessive. Now here's one thing I don't want you to get confused. When something is dominant, it does not mean that it is more common in the population. Okay? Humans having 6 fingers is actually, on each hand, is actually a dominant trait, but we have evolved to a point where we don't need that extra finger anymore. So our recessive trait of having 5 fingers on a hand actually has become the most common in the population. So dominance does not always equal commonality. Okay? A dominant allele is always expressed if it is present. It's represented by a capital letter. The recessive allele is only expressed if 2 recessive alleles are present, and they are always represented by a lowercase letter. That will become more important when we start Punnett squares. So genetics leads us to probability and statistics, and the probability and statistics have to do with the genotypes and the phenotypes. So a genotype is the description of the alleles that the organism contains. So this is the combination of the letters that you write down. You can have different types of genotypes. You can either have homozygous dominant, where both your alleles are dominant, therefore 2 capital letters. You can have a heterozygous genotype, where one allele is dominant and the other is recessive, so 1 capital, 1 lowercase. Or you can have homozygous recessive, when both alleles are recessive, meaning they're both lowercase. Homozygous just means that the alleles are the same, so they're either both dominant or both recessive. And heterozygous means that the alleles are different, so you have 1 dominant, 1 recessive allele. This all leads us to our phenotype, which is the description of the physical characteristic that the organism displays. So my genotype for blue eye color might be homozygous recessive for blue eyes, and my phenotype is blue eye color. So it's the description of what it actually looks like. All right, so that's it for the vocab. What you want to do next is make sure your vocab is filled in and you get it put into your binder, and then you want to jump on the quizzes and do a little bit of vocab review. Have a great day.